really sorry we're going microphone-less, guys, but we're going microphone-less again. We're gonna talk about the many saints of Newark, though. I'm real stoked about this. Why'd you turn the light off?
Because I want them to go to the light.
Well, I need them to see my face.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Are we recording?
We just turned it on. Mom wants to wear her sunglasses.
Hey, yeah, I'm in character for the 1970s.
For the Many Saints of Newark trailer. That is the SOPRANOS movie trailer.
Those guys look just like the guys I grew up with.
Here's one thing that I do love. I will say this about the late 60s and the 70s, and anytime any crime stuff like Scorsese and stuff is filmed there, there's so much color in the wardrobe and stuff that it's like kind of funny to me. Like in like my generation's mob movies and stuff like that, it's always like dark tone, like The Departed. It's like dark tones, navies, blues, darks, and then it's like anytime we shoot in the 70s and 60s, it's like, you're wearing a bright yellow polo, bud, and you're shooting something up, and I love it. Should we go let our dog in the house? Because it's very hot out.
Yeah, because we're going to talk. So.
All right, let me go let my dog in. Winston. Oh,
looks good with the...
Oh, it's super
great.
I think that this trailer is one of the coolest I've seen. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I didn't have faith in this. I really did not. I was nervous about it.
How could you not have faith in it? Same guy who did Sopranos, David Chase.
Let's give...
And the reality, I mean, let's face it.
Mom, whipping out names on me and everything.
James Gandolfini's son.
Okay.
I mean, it looks like him, right? It's got same eyes. Always. It's in the eyes.
It's just not disturbing. It's cute. But
it's perfect.
Well, it's like
so realistic.
It's like when I found those photos of you, and I sent them to Uncle Tom, and I was like, "Is this me or Mom?" And he was like, "That's you," and I was like, "That's Mom," and I was like, "Oh, it was creepy." If you go on my Instagram, you can see. I was like, "Wow." Mom had not watched Sopranos before. I had not watched Sopranos before until, 2013, 14? My ex was like, what do you mean you're Miss Movie TV and you haven't watched The Sopranos? And I was like, I was, how old in 99? 6? 7? So I remember when the height of The Sopranos, but I was too young to give a crap.
And I was widowed trying to raise 3 kids. I didn't have time for The Sopranos. I knew it was a big deal.
Yes. And this was like, and I totally
I never had the time to watch
let's put it this way, I had respect for The Sopranos because I knew that's why we got Walter White. I knew that's why we had The Shield. I knew that's why we had all these shows that were coming. That's where the anti-hero came
Walter
from.
White. He's right up there with The Sopranos as far as I'm concerned. But
that's a whole
Breaking Bad, yeah. But
that's
anyway,
great.
go.
But Mom had never watched The Sopranos before. I had never watched The Sopranos until a couple of years ago, and now I've watched it 2 or 3 times all the way through, and there's a reason why. It's because it's fantastic and it's great. But I told Mom, who's watched Game of Thrones, who's watched Succession, I was like, if you're ever bored, throw it on. You'll probably like it. Well, then
because I love the gangster movies anyway.
Well, then one day,
old
like a month ago,
new ones, I love them all.
I realized Mom is chugging through The Sopranos. Now she has not gotten to the
binge
ending
watching.
yet. But we just got to what? We just got past Christopher dying. So.
They all left me for the 4th of July. It was 93 in the shade. I had the house picked up. I was ordering food. That's all I did. Sit back and binge watch The Sopranos.
And now she's
It
almost
was great. Nobody bothering me, nothing.
Well, they finally dropped the Many Saints of Newark trailer, which is going to be this prequel to The Sopranos, and it's a movie, and it'll be in October. So I sent it to Mom while I was at the cabin. I was like, hey, you gotta watch this because we need to talk about it, and it's gonna be great.
And I'm pumped.
And now, so we're gonna talk about that. We're just gonna talk about our reactions. Now,
we're just doing our reactions.
Yeah,
Want me to do mine first?
Well, I was gonna say I didn't have faith in this project. I kind of thought casting the son could have been gimmicky, but after seeing this trailer, I don't feel that way.
And seeing him,
I feel I feel like they took very delicate hands with this. I feel like David Chase really respected this, and I mean, why wouldn't he? But I feel like they really did take time with this son. You can just tell that there's a lot that went into it. I thought it could have came off gimmicky, and now after seeing this trailer, which is probably one of the coolest cut trailers I've seen in a very long time, theatrical or not, I'm excited for this. I'm genuinely excited for this. I'm very excited for it.
Well, I was from the get-go once I found out that it was the same guy who did Sopranos.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, that's a big deal.
It's like asking someone else to do Star Trek. If it ain't Gene Roddenberry, let's face it,
well,
you lose something.
You have a personal
you lose something in that.
That's true.
Same with Star Wars. You lose something. I don't care how good it is, you lose something.
No, that's true.
So I thought right away I'd look forward to it just because of that. No. And I'll tell you what I loved.
Okay.
I got my notes here.
Let's put this out there first for people that don't know it. And I didn't know this until I started doing some digging. but the main character is going to be Dickie Moltisanti, which is Christopher's father, but Moltisanti means many saints. So the many saints of Newark is essentially about Moltisanti and that family and what was going on there. But go ahead, Mom.
So, and I think that's going to be interesting to see that, the impact that he had, because I don't really get that out of The Sopranos. I mean, he's mentioned now and then, the dad, but I mean, Chris don't think much of him, and it's not like he's a big character in it, so.
Well, they do have their moments of, I always kind of took it as like, Tony used him as leverage against Christopher a little bit, and kind of, like, even using that guy who, quote unquote,
I think
we still don't know if that's the guy who killed Christopher's dad, but I'm sure we're going to find out in this movie. But I always kind of felt like Tony cared about him, but kind of used him and weaponized his father's death against Christopher a few times.
Well,
is that...
Tony weaponized everybody. I don't know if Tony was capable of love.
Mom is
at all.
just getting to Tony's big... And I will say this
He's a
about
monster.
I will say this
that
about
guy's a monster.
I will say this about The Sopranos. Out of all of them, out of Walter White and everybody we've talked about, I don't think even when they died or lived or whatever happens to them in their ending, I'm just specifically talking about Walter White, we were still on their side. Like, you know what I mean? But with Sopranos, we start hitting that 6th season and you're like,
yeah, I kind of like Tony, but hey.
We've been being gaslit
like
this whole time
right.
by you. Like, this whole time we've been able to sympathize with you, and I don't think I can think of another show who does that. And somebody made the argument for The Shield. Now, I haven't watched The Shield.
Well, and the interesting conflict with Tony is he's not...
You can relate to him.
Yeah, and there's a part of him that wants to have somewhat of a moral conscience. There's a part of him somewhere, he's... Like he wouldn't turn his cousin over, right? You're not torturing him.
That's true.
I ain't into the torturing stuff.
Yeah.
And he didn't like what they did. Not only that Phil killed Vito and went over his head, but the way they did it. The way they beat him like that and did the thing with the pool stick. And he didn't like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting, as much of a monster, right, that Tony really is.
He's more of a savage.
He is.
He's more of like, I'll bash your skull in.
He is self-preservation without...
But you're not going
in blinders,
to torture
man,
people
on steroids, that guy.
Yes.
And so he cannot love. But he's not someone who wants to see people suffer. He's not... He's just going to put a bullet in your head.
Right. Like I said, like he's more of a...
So you got to kind of like that about him.
He's more savage.
He's not sick like that.
Right. No, he's more of a savage, where it's like, I might crack your skull open, but at least I'm cracking your skull open. I'm not burning you.
It's self-preservation for him, like I said. He doesn't know anything else at his core, but there's flickers of him where it could have been, or he wanted to be.
Right.
But when the rubber hits the road and he has to act,
it's Tony above all.
That's what wins out in him, even though there may be these other components to his personality. But
I feel like that.
I think that's why he's way upset with AJ. That's the other thing was one of my initial reactions.
Well, like I said,
because he had people in high school that cared about him, people who recognized his intelligence and his leadership qualities. And even when he went in the coma dream, he went back to high school. You remember that? And in the trailer, they have now we see the coach telling him, hey, you could have been something. I told you. You had leadership. You had this. You had the smarts. So there was a guy that believed in him. And now we find out that so did the counselor who in the trailer brings the mom in to say, hey, this guy is testing, this guy's intelligence. He's a leader.
Now,
he's this, he's that. And it's interesting to see that even then, I think we agreed on this, the mother did not care.
That she's even in this
she
trailer
didn't care about the kid.
Is already undermining him. Is not undermining, but is already belittling him already. And he's not even in the room. He's a kid. He's a kid in high school, and you're already talking smack. No parent that goes into a meeting. Now, I mean, I'm not a parent. You are, but if you go into the principal's office and they're telling you how smart your kid is and how if they just had this, this, and this, they'd be better off. Most parents would go, "That's a good thing, right?" They wouldn't go, Well,
what can we do about it? Because
that. To me, they're a dumbass.
I mean, you might say, "Hey, well, they're driving me nuts and screwing up left and right. So what do I do to bring this out?
What do I need to do to make this?
But you're going to try.
Yeah, you don't just
say, "Hey, I didn't know that. What do I do?" Because right now they're a screw up.
Yeah, you don't just go, "Yeah, they got a D plus. I don't, whatever." You don't just say that. You're already belittling your kid, and when you're getting these very big compliments from somebody at their school saying how intelligent they are, how they have leadership qualities, how their IQ is so high. Like, those are great things to hear about your kid, and all you can say is, well, to me, they got a D plus average. Like,
right. She obviously
she looks
even then
great.
never did anything to make his life
sorry, I'm
any
trying to
better.
pop my shoulder. But is that woman from, tell me in the comments below if that's the woman from The Conjuring. Either way, she looks great.
Perfect casting for the younger mother.
She looks fantastic. Now, I love Olivia. That's her name, right? It's Livia, right? But I think they call her Libby or Libby. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. Libby. But I think that, and I will argue this, without her, we wouldn't have any of the female characters we have today. Without the Sopranos, we wouldn't have anything, but she was a pioneer of female characters in power. Because I think people, until you rewatch Sopranos, I think you forget how much power that mom wields over that family, and she knows it. She knows it with Junior, she knows it with Tony, she knows it with, and Carmela calls her out, and she's like, you are the mother in the Italian family.
We got to get back on the
huge trailer. But anyway, I think people forget how great that mom is and how she's literally the first person playing the Game of Thrones on television. And I think that actress and that mom need to have the credit they deserve. Back to the trailer.
Well, back to the trailer. So
it
I
will
think
be
we're
in
going to
theaters.
see the connection to Chris through Uncle Dick, through this Uncle Dick character that's going to be big in the new movie. And the insight seems to be from this trailer that Uncle Dick looms larger than his own father.
Yes.
There's something there with him.
Now, I have that, when we have the opening shot of him outside the store on the payphone, and we get the voiceover from James Gandolfini talking about codes. Now, this is where we get the good versus evil thing in Sopranos, where it's not fully good how we see it, and it's not fully bad or evil how we see it, because obviously we're dealing with the mafia here. So I really like that already. I like that the riots are the backdrop, which riots in any form are a symbol of change.
But I get the feeling something happens to Uncle Dick in these riots.
He did something bad.
Or something bad happens to him.
Oh, I think that
I think she doesn't agree with me. I think something happens bad to him.
Well, obviously he's gonna die.
Well, that's bad.
Right. No, we just don't know.
And
what
I think
did
that plants the seed in Tony.
To stay in the life.
I think it plants a seed that.
Or do you mean like to be vicious?
It plants some kind of a seed. I'm not sure what kind yet, but something happens to him during these riots that changes.
Yes. So we have the codes, and I do like, because there are certain tics that, I mean, every actor gives these to their character, but like I said, Tony Soprano is probably the biggest character of all time. James Gandolfini played that role so well. Like I said, you are as an audience member, you are gaslit by him. You are going, I agree with you, kill whoever you need to, have your family survive, until you get to that final half of the sixth season, you're like, Jesus. I've been rooting for this monster this whole time, but there are little tics he does, like the head down, eyes looking over thing. Like, his son worked real hard to do stuff like that.
Or naturally has some of those expressions.
That's true.
It can be inherited.
And I'm sure that, and I do
definitely has the eyes.
I do just want to comment on this before I get into Dickie Moltisanti, is I'm sure it is I want to give this kid a lot of credit, because I'm sure not only is it very hard to get into a mindset of that character of Tony Soprano, I'm sure it is very hard to go, I'm playing a character my dad played, not only a character my dad played, one of the biggest characters of all time, but he's passed away now. And so I'm sure that's very hard and emotional. So
I'm sure that was rough.
I'm proud of that, and good job, and I can only imagine how hard that is.
And smart move, David Chase, getting James Gandolfini's son, because people love that.
Yeah.
And they're going to accept it.
Yes.
That role.
A lot of people wouldn't accept that. I don't think
on both levels, it was genius casting, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. But now we'll get to Dickie Moltisanti. Now, it's kind of perfect how this has worked out, because Mom literally just passed the episode where Christopher is talking about his father. And he's like, between the vodka and the coke and whatever else he's putting in his arm, yada, yada, yada. When we first see Dickie Moltisanti in the trailer, he's hitting a pint and hiding it from Tony. Now, if you remember being a kid, before you know that people have problems or whatever, there might have been somebody in your life that you really looked up to and you were really close with, and you might not have known about the demons they were fighting. And that's kind of what Tony's doing when he comes popping out the door and goes, Uncle Dick. And to him, Uncle Dick was the end all and be all number one. I'm sure you felt like that about some of your uncles that were great guys and still are. They were great guys, but I'm sure they had some issues they were dealing with that you don't know about. Everybody has that. Everybody and anybody in your life has that. They don't have to be a mobster. They don't have to be a monster either, or an alcoholic, or have problems. But it's until you become an adult, you don't realize what somebody was dealing with. You know what I mean? And I feel like The Sopranos and probably this do a very good job of having it be a mob story, but also showing that human side of it, of like, you don't know what everybody's dealing with. But to Tony, Uncle Dick is number one. That's my main guy. And I really liked that contrast of showing that. Now, we have to remember that.
Well, even in the trailer, the mother, Junior, says, I'll talk to him. And he's like, he don't listen to nobody but Dickie.
But Dickie, yeah. She's not going. But I do like, we have to explain this real quick because people might not know this. Christopher is not blood related to Tony, just like Uncle Dick is not blood related to Tony. This is just like Christopher and Tony's relationship. Uncle Dickie and him are referred to each other as nephew and uncle, but they are not blood related as uncle and nephew. They just have that very close in the family dynamic, and it's an Italian thing. As Adriana, I think, says it, and she's like, no, really, he's related to Carmela, but
I think they're cousins.
Yeah, they call them this, this, and this. And then it's like, okay, so you have to remember that this relationship between Tony and Uncle Dick is very similar to Christopher and Tony and how they are, which I think is very cool to do. And then very sad once you know what Tony does to Christopher, because for a minute I kind of forgot how Christopher died, and then I was like, oh no, I do remember. And it's horrible. And that's when you finally are like, Tony, I'm done with you.
Tony at his core.
I'm done with you,
When
Tony.
the rubber hits the road, that's what the dominant trait is in Tony Soprano.
Yep. And he's great. Okay, so now that we're over how he looks just like him and it's crazy, I was just saying this to Mom in the 60s, how I love the color pop, and I love that in the late 60s and early 70s, I think that's why Scorsese movies had such a definitive look, is because it was such this crazy time, but such a colorful time, and very, like, literally, when I say colorful, I mean literally. The clothes, the everything is very...
Because nobody had no money. We just put together whatever we had.
Well, it's like hippy-dippy, weird time. I don't know, I like it. I like it, whatever. And
you either got the hippy-dippy weird kinds, or you got the long-haired jeans and leathers, or you got the fly guys.
Well, did you see how they had that? Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but I do like that they showed Satriali's. And just so people understand, like, how I took it now. Oh,
I think the reason they show that is to show how deep rooted the culture. No,
that's what I was going to say.
The culture is.
It's deep rooted now.
And neighborhood.
Well, like I was saying with the riots, and how anytime you have riots in anything, that's to symbolize change coming. To show Satriali's looking the exact same as it does in The Sopranos is saying that we do not change. We stay the same. Like you said, this is a deep-rooted thing. It goes all the way back. Bing, bang, boom. That's it. But then it's like, no, maybe we shouldn't do that. And that's what The Sopranos is all about, is kind of breaking cycles and going to therapy and fixing things. Just saying. So that's a one, it was a cool shot to see. Everybody wants to see Satriali's again. But it's just, like, that's how I personally took it. Oh, then we go to the school.
It's been in the neighborhood.
We go to Tony and his mom. We've talked about that. It's funny because I'm pretty sure I love Johnny Sacks. He's one of my favorite characters in the entire series. I think Tony makes a joke to him once or twice about how high his IQ is. And now I'm like, oh, is that a joke, or were you serious? And like, or at least David Chase went back in and said, I'm going to use this.
No, I think Tony knew that. And I think it haunts him. That's why he went back to the high school in his dreams. I think that he resented his mom for not letting his dad take that chance and get him out of that life.
Yeah.
I think Tony, at some level, is smart enough to recognize that, what he could have been had he not taken the path that he took. And I think that's why he's the way with AJ.
Yeah.
He that's why he's so crazy about AJ not being that. Yes. But then he doesn't understand AJ.
Yes, because well, I think that, and that's why I think that AJ gets a lot of crap from a lot of people, and many men. Let's just put it this way, and not to hate on you guys, but a lot of men I know that watch Sopranos, they hate AJ. And I'm like, yeah, but of all people, a man, I feel like
we're getting off topic.
Well, no, I feel like men have weird relationships with their dads. And it's like, Tony does not want AJ to be like this. So AJ's not being like this. And then Tony doesn't understand how to deal with him because he's like, I don't know how to relate to you. And so it's like, I always find it odd when people are like, oh, I hate him, where I'm like, no.
He's always falling apart.
Well, he is a sniveling little worm.
God, you can call him falling apart all the time.
You can call him a sniveling little worm. I just don't understand how people don't see, like,
I'm not calling him a sniveling little worm. The kid's got problems, but I mean, come on.
How conflicting
You'd never get away with that in the neighborhood, let me tell you.
How conflicting can that be to be the heir, essentially, and then be told, like, everything you can't be a part of this, essentially. And then also knowing I don't have the gut to be a part of that. But Tony doesn't want him to. It's a very complex character.
Well, he kind of does. He sat there and let them people pour acid on that kid's skull.
But it made him sick, and he came home.
Yeah, but he don't say nothing, though. He's got no backbone.
Okay, good point.
I mean, he sat there and let them beat up that other kid with the bite, the African kid.
Oh,
remember that?
But that also
and he
comes
stood there and let that happen. It bothers him, but he can't open his mouth and say anything.
But that also comes into play when Meadow tells him, we're Italian, you'll always be more important than me, when really Meadow is the one who is well-adjusted, smarter, all this stuff, kind of like...
Well, he's got the guts to stand up and say something.
Back to the trailer.
Anyway, yeah.
I have a backside, sorry. But I do, back to Dickie, Uncle Dick, and this, and Tony's relationship. I am very excited about that. Oh, then we cut to, I just went beat by beat with the trailer. We have, obviously, a black guy shooting into the car window, symbolizing the riots happening and everything. We haven't really seen that. Then we go into...
Oh, really? I didn't know he was black.
Oh, I saw his hand. I paused it. I paused it hardcore. Oh, yeah, I was zooming in and stuff.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, if I'm wrong, tell me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure it's a black guy shooting into the car. And me and Mom are assuming it's the guy with the HUD organization that...
Yeah, he's involved in that. He was in the riots back in the day.
When him and the Zellman, the lawyer or whatever, are chit-chatting, and he's like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, I remember back in the day, they were idealistic and all this crap. We're assuming that's him. We cut to a montage of, like, money counting, illegal stuff. And then we do see Tony sitting in the back of the car holding his hands together and doing that nod. And I was like, oh my God, like, that was just to see, like I said, my dad passed away. So to see this kid being able to take up that mantle that his father had on screen, I was very, like, where other people might have been like, oh no, that was badass. Abby's like, that's sweet. But, then we see Polly Walnuts with the point, and I really like that. We cut to the store window that's bashed down with the speakers and stuff in it, so that's where Tony, earlier in the trailer, gets the speakers, and I'm assuming it's from that.
Doesn't that remind you of the 70s, just laying on a carpet somewhere with two giant speakers in your head?
But I really like that, too, because Tony and his music is a very heavy theme throughout.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying.
I agree with you, but what I'm saying is I mean, I do want to put our little points in here, but that is a very heavy theme, is he's always listening to Rush and all these things. Tony always has his music going, so to see him laying there with the speakers, I just really like that David Chase is going this deep into it, and it's like, oh no, I thought this could have went bad, but you know your character.
But anyway, he changes. The riots change him somehow, and then we switch over to...
We have Dickie telling him every time you steal something, he's being a bad influence. And that's when Tony's like, I wanted to go to college, I can't get caught.
Yes, this man he loves obviously is not good for him.
Right, and which is sad. And then it cuts to a big giant boat coming over, and then we cut to, and I'm assuming that might be the people from Italy, because I know there's a reference to that. But then we get to see Johnny Boy Soprano, played by Shane from The Walking Dead. Why can't I remember your name right now? And we see Uncle Junior, which I thought that was really cool. And like I said, the imagery in this trailer when it cuts to these montages is very, striking, beautiful, and very well done. But it hits hard. Like, there's not a lot of dialogue in this trailer. It's a lot of imagery, and they do a very good job of going bing, bang, boom, here's what's happening. Like I said, then we cut to the race riots. And then we get to the line, something needs to be done about Dickie Moltisanti from the black guy, who we're assuming is Tippin?
Well, we don't know if that's
We don't know if it's him. We don't know if that's him.
It's just somebody. It's obviously a leader.
So obviously, Dickie Moltisanti has done something to piss them off. We don't know if it's money. We don't know if it's race related. We don't know what it is. But obviously, he did something to make people upset, or...
Well, we think that, and that's where I think that's the changing.
And that's when we get.
That's what changes. young Tony, I think.
Yes.
We'll see.
Yes. And then we get hit with Legends Aren't Born, They're Made, and that was really cool.
And are we to the five guys?
We're almost there. Then we get to the truck window of the guy handing out, I think it's an ice cream truck. That guy getting pulled underneath like Jaws in the water. Very cool shot. Very cool. That looked really awesome.
But I didn't understand why. Were they attacking the ice cream guy?
Well, he probably owes some money.
Oh.
I think it's Tony.
I was like, that's a little extreme for a.
Well, I think it's Tony and his friends.
An orange sickle, don't you think?
Yeah, but I think it's Tony and his friends. So it's going to be the first.
Yeah, maybe they're
it's going to be the first people that they're sticking up and being
tough with.
Yes. So it's like, okay, who would you go and loan money to? Who do you know? Well, I'm a kid becoming a teenager. Well, I know the ice cream truck guy, so it kind of makes sense. But that was a really cool shot. Either way, it was real cool to see him get sucked under. And then we see Ray Liotta. We still don't know exactly.
Who's Ray Liotta? We don't think. Who do we think he is? We think
that
he's
Dickie's father.
Yeah.
So Christopher's grandfather. That's what we think.
Who's telling Dickie, you leave him alone.
Yeah.
Leave Tony alone.
So we see him
because maybe he's an old man rotting away in jail and realizes it ain't worth it. And that kid, and he sees it too. He sees that potential, that intelligence, that leadership.
And I will
quality
say, I think the first time in the trailer where we see Dickie,
so we know Dickie's no good.
Get upset is I don't want to say no.
But you love people that aren't good for you sometimes.
Right. I was gonna say the first.
And he obviously had no relationship with his father.
For the first time in the trailer, we see Dickie's face get like don't even talk about him. You get upset is when what we think is his father says, stay away from your nephew, and he's like, I'm listening, and it's like, oh, that's one thing like he does. He loves his nephew.
That might be off limits. I don't know. It's weird dynamic there.
Oh,
but anyway,
so then we go back to, and like I said, this trailer is very cool, cut very well. We go back to the montage, and like I said about imagery, it's very pretty, and then we cut to the black gangsters looking up at whatever burning down, and like I said, the imagery in this is very striking. You don't need a lot of dialogue. I don't know if it's Livy or somebody else, but the woman with the beehive leaning on the old school car, on the Cadillac. And then you have Johnny Boy.
Well, she's the same woman that's in the funeral home.
Is it? I don't know. They're all dark-haired and have beehives. So, but either way,
I think she's waiting for Chris's father, Dickie.
Oh, that makes sense. But like I said,
because then it shows them together. It is the imagery, and we think that's obviously we think.
Oh yeah,
Chrissy's mom.
Yeah. But I just am, like I said, in that there's a couple times when they first show that woman and then they show them together. We're assuming that is Christopher's mother. So, but yeah, when they do that quick cut at the end, I was like, oh, it's like I said, it's the black gangsters looking at everything burning down, going with their mouths open, like, are you kidding me? And then the shot to the woman with the beehive, and then the quick cut to Johnny Boy Soprano shooting his gun off, and it's very like, oh. Like I said, very easy imagery to go, I understand what's going on without dialogue happening, and very cool imagery that I thought was very well done. Then we have the funeral part where we see what we think is Christopher's mother, and then we have him talking to Ray Liotta at the end in the jail, where he says, and as far as your nephew goes, stay out of his life. And he's like, I don't like you talking to me like that, but whatever, I'll listen to you type deal. And Dickie is visibly bothered by that. I take that as the cycle of The Sopranos is never ending. This violence is whatever, and then
they don't have the ones.
They
can't get out.
Exactly,
and he had no support to get out.
Exactly, and that's what we. And here's what I say all the time, especially that's why Game of Thrones, Succession, Sopranos. That's why these shows are the best. Families are complicated. And families are the best thing to write about.
But how about that final scene?
But let's talk about them fading from the.
That's exactly what people look like walking down the street in the 70s, right? That's what the guys look like.
Oh, I just wanted to talk about them fading into the Sopranos theme.
Well, we got to get the five guys first.
Oh, Mom's really excited about the five guys. The five guys at the end.
Five guys.
Here's what we think. We think that it is Tony, Sil,
yeah, I think
Ralph.
It's Sil. Well, it is Ralph, because remember Ralph in one of the episodes, he goes, we had a crew. So we know Ralph is there.
And then we think it's Pussy and
Jackie
Aprile or Artie Bucco. Now, it's probably not Artie Bucco because he's Mr. I'm not involved with, but I'm really excited to see
Who were the 5 in the crew?
Mom's really excited. Wants to know who
hey,
are
we'd
the
love
5.
to know who you think the 5
Who
are.
do you think the
do you
5
agree
in
with
the
that?
crew are? Because Mom's real excited about that, but I really do. I'm like, I didn't think about that until Mom started bringing up the 5 in the crew. She's like, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Because I was like, yeah, Paulie's a little bit older.
I was like, hey, I know those guys. I got a picture in one of my photo albums just like that.
Well, I was like, it can't be Syl. It can't be Syl. I always think Syl is older.
Yeah, she didn't think it was Syl. I go, no, I think it's Syl.
It's Syl. And then Syl makes a couple comments of saying, I've known you since school, Tony.
He's the consigliere. I mean, I think they go back. I think they're tight.
Yeah, no, that's true. But And
then Abby loved the imagery, the Catholicism coming into it. With
Catholic imagery is heavily used in The Sopranos.
Catholic imagery is heavily used.
Good versus evil, the devil and evil versus good and evil. Like that's very heavily used. But like I said, Moltisanti meaning the many saints, and fading from that, coming in on that shot of that Saint Mary statue, and then
Blessed Mother,
or the Blessed Mother, and then sorry, I know
Are you kidding?
I'm sorry. I almost said St. Mary Magdalene, but then I knew it wasn't St. Mary Magdalene, so I didn't want to sound stupid. But
we're Catholic.
When they show that, and then they fade the back away and have the Sopranos theme come in.
Oh my God.
That was really cool. That was really, really cool. That was really well done. Like I said, this is, whether or not this turned out being good,
Pumped.
this trailer was sweet.
I am pumped.
It was really cool.
Did we talk too long?
I don't care. Everybody's talking too long about this. Nobody cares. The Sopranos is great. But no, here's something that's real big, and I forgot to talk about this. A huge thing in this is that it's called a Sopranos story. Meaning, if this does well, we will get more Sopranos stories.
Abigail thinks we'll have more stories.
Yes, because why would you call it that? Why would you call it a Sopranos story at the end if you didn't have more Sopranos stories to tell?
No, it's a good point. You might be right.
And I'm real excited about that.
But hey, are we right on the 5 guys?
Yeah,
let me know.
Tell us who you think the 5 guys at the end are. We think it's Ralph, Puss, Syl, Tony,
Jackie,
and Jackie Aprile. But I really am excited to see him and Artie's relationship.
Well, maybe Artie could be in the 5, but you know,
I don't think
I think you're
right. I think exactly. Well, Artie was always the one going, "No, I don't do that. I don't do that."
It just wasn't his thing.
So I am excited to see them together. Because that's the best relationship on the show, is him and Artie. Because Artie is the only one in the entire show of all of the Sopranos that can throw meat in Tony's face, and they're joking in the kitchen and stuff, and joking with each other and wrestling around with each other. They're the only ones who do that. No other character does that. They're scared.
And what'll be interesting with this trailer, and this is my final thought, is that it's going to show us how those relationships, even at a young age, interacted and the dynamics of them as young people, and be able to compare it to them as they grew older.
And I will say
it'll be fun.
And I know a lot of people, especially if you're not a freak like me who's super into movies and stuff, The Sopranos is very, very good at take the mob life out of it. And me and Mom will go into detail more about this after she finishes the series. It's very much the American dream. It's very much dealing with your own stress and your own life. It's very good at telling that story, but then we have a big mafia character. Same thing with that is like I was saying, everybody has a person that they look up to when they're a kid that isn't your mom and dad. You have that cousin, that uncle, that aunt, somebody where you're like, but like I said, no matter what it is, somebody always has a problem. Somebody always has a demon they're fighting, and you don't know that as a kid. You just see them as you are the greatest. And that is a very real and a very close to everybody's heart, I think.
Because kids don't see the big pictures. Kids see this.
Yes.
They see you.
Yes. And same
so
thing.
So depending on how you're treating them, you're good in their book.
But same thing with Sopranos. Like I said,
but I don't want to get off the trailer.
I don't want to either. I'm just saying that is a very Sopranos hits hard home with relationships and stuff and themes it has, if you take the mob aspect out of it. And I think this movie will have a lot of, once again, hitting home type feelings of, like I said, the relationship you have with a family member, the relationship you have with family, the cycles of growing up, the cycles of families, all that. But yeah,
we'll talk about that later. We're getting way off.
How? That's all. Okay. Anyway, tell us who you think the 5 are, because I think Artie might be one of them. But then we were like, it might be Jackie Aprile. But I'm Abby.
I'm Amelia.
We're Motor City Nerds, and tell us how excited you are to see The Many Saints of Newark coming out in October on HBO Max, and I think in theaters too. But yeah,
pump it up.